welcome you to our segment Health Monday with Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us today. First of all, let me get this right off the top right here. I told you a few days ago that I got the flu shot for the first time in my lifetime. And Jared was traveling. He's a travel entrepreneur. And Jacob gave me the shot, and he gave me a sucker afterwards.
And he's still alive. Look at him right there.
But,
Still alive.
You know what? We're not going there this morning, but the flu shot very important this time of the year.
Very important this time of year. We've done hundreds and hundreds. Still got some more, so come on.
All right. What's on the shelf? What's on the shelf?
A new segment we want to try here because, you know us, there's always an idea that doesn't work. Our new segment we want to try from time to time.
I was told that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Always got an idea.
Always an idea. It may or may not work. We want to do a segment called What's on the Shelf, where we help you get familiar with the products that you can buy yourself that are over the counter to help you know what to get, when to get them, who to ask, how, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to try this morning. And clearly we're going to start with cough, cold, and flu products because that's where we are in the year.
You know, Jared, if I look on a shelf and I see all the many products that's available, you know, you can almost get shell shocked, you know?
You can almost get shelf shocked.
There you go. You can use that line
You're welcome
too.
for that. Yeah, that's right. Particularly when it comes to cough and cold. When you go to the shelf, we probably have, 12 or 16 feet of cough and cold products, and there's probably, 200, 250 different things there. Very difficult to choose what you need. But as far as over-the-counter medicines go, there are so many things there to treat so many different conditions. So I hope we won't do this segment every month, but we'll do it from time to time. I hope it'll be beneficial.
What's some of the treatment medicines that are available over the counter with the What's on the Shelf segment?
Well, the first thing is to figure out what all types of products there are before I can narrow down to a specific. Because in cough and cold, all the products out there just about are a combination of different ingredients. And so the classes of medications you're going to see mixed in are you're going to have medications for pain and fever reduction for the flu and aches and chills and things. You're going to have decongestants. I'm going to use some long words here. You're going to have antihistamines, allergy type products. You're going to have antitussives, which are cough products. You're going to have expectorants, which are for chest congestion. Let's see if I've left anything out there doing this off the top of my head.
That's pretty good.
But you're going to get a variety, and most of the products you're going to pick up may even have one from every one of those categories or two or three of those categories. So it can get very confusing.
That's when it gets confusing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, a lot of people feel this way, that what you just described, they've got a multitude of those going on right now this morning.
Well, they got a multitude of those. I always start with decongestants. How does that sound? Your decongestants are what they sound like. They are there to treat nasal congestion, and there are two different ways to get these products. The most popular way would be in tablet form. These pills treat nasal congestion, sinus congestion, the pressure that's there when you're feeling all stuffy, right? And so you have your medications that are in brand name forms that you'll recognize the names. Sudafed. That's behind the counter, right? Because bad people do bad things with it. You got to show your driver's license. Sudafed PE, which is across the counter. And then you have your nasal sprays like Afrin and some other brand names that do the same thing, at least mechanistically speaking. And they're there to treat that pressure.
How quickly do these type decongestants, how quickly do they get in your system and you begin to show improvement?
Honestly, the sprays, seconds, a minute. 2 minutes. They're extremely quick. Can't use them, for more than 3 days at a time. They don't last a really long time more often than not, but seconds. If you wake up in the middle of the night, I can't breathe, keep that nasal spray next to your bed. You can breathe pretty quick. But the more common forms, obviously, the tablets. They're going to get in your system within an hour. They're going to be working. 15, 30 minutes is usually the onset of action if it's something you swallow. And so then, 15 to 30 minutes, the regular release forms are going to work for 4 to 6 hours and get you some relief.
This time of the year, people wanting to have a good time, enjoy the holiday season, and this kind of sickness can really crimp your style. And we've got medications there that can help almost everybody. And we go from decongestants to antihistamines, and that's a long word for me to say.
That's right, that's right. Antihistamines are the medications that you think of normally as allergy medications. You have your older ones like your Benadryl, your chlorotrimazole, your Tavist, which you never really see that much on the shelf anymore. And then you have your newer ones like your Claritin and your Allegra and your Zizal, which is now over the counter, and your Zyrtec. Those are probably the main ones. So those are the newer ones that don't make you as drowsy as the older ones. At the same time, this is very important in when you're talking about cough and cold. If you use those medications to treat allergies, there are some slight differences, but they're basically interchangeable, and all those medications can be effective against allergies. When you're using those medications associated with a cold, it's important to understand that your Claritins and your Zyrtecs and your Allegras, the newer ones, are not really effective against a cold, because a cold doesn't have the same mechanism as allergies. I'm butchering that language, but anyway.
As good as you're going to do.
Your older, yeah, as good as I can do. Your older medications, your Benadryl, your chlorotrimazole, and their generics are fantastic for cold. You're basically using their side effects to your benefit, because one of the side effects of those medicines is that they dry up everything. And when you can use them to dry up drainage and such, they also help with runny nose, sneezing, all those sort of things associated with cold.
Jared, we just described some of these medications, and when you think about it, that's where you guys come in, because it can be confusing to me just to look, and you guys can help us out in kind of steering us the right way.
Well, it is confusing. When someone comes in, hey, I need some cold medicine. That's how it always. Hey, I need some cold medicine. Okay, we didn't get anywhere with that. So,
but that's what we think, you know?
Exactly. And so that's what I tell them. Okay, that's great. Now tell me everything I need to know. Tell me about your symptoms. Tell me how long they've been going. Tell me this. And then the whole time I'm formulating, I'm doing the same thing we're doing right now. I'm thinking, okay, I got 5 categories of medications mixed into all these boxes out here. Did he hit this bale? Did he hit this bale? Okay, which ones? Okay, now I need one that has, let's say he had 3 of those 5. Okay, now I need one that has a combination of those 3 of those 5 types of ingredients. And so people wonder sometimes, we'll go out there and they'll see us looking at the backs of boxes. Well, I didn't memorize what's in all 250 products out there, but I know exactly what's going on with all those medications that are in there, so I need to find the one that's got the combo that he or she needs at that time.
What's on the shelf? 5 categories. Another category we want to talk about this morning.
Yeah, let's talk about the antitussives, which is just a fancy way of saying the cough medicines. When you go to the shelf and you see, 30 different cough medicines on the shelf, there's only one ingredient in every single one of them. It's dextromethorphan. And so when you have your products that have the name DM or the letters DM attached to them, those are products that have a cough medicine, dextromethorphan. And that medicine does just what you think it does. It helps to stop a cough. There are some people that's not appropriate in, though. If you have a person who has heavy chest congestion, that's a mucus buildup right in the airways, that stuff needs to be coughed up. And so there are some people which that cough medicine is not necessarily appropriate for. Now, if you got somebody who is having trouble sleeping at night, for example, because they can't stop coughing, or maybe a person who has coughed so much that they're hurting, sometimes people even cough so much that they've broken ribs. You've got to stop that cough, and that's another situation altogether. But understand, every single person with a cold or cough may not need to take that medicine. There are special situations.
Kind of ironic you say that. A friend of mine who's on the police force here in town, he'd been sick for about 3 weeks, and he comes by the funeral home and talks with us nearly every day, and he's been a good friend for a long time. But he actually coughed so much that it did injure a rib. So that can be very painful.
It happens more than you think, It's common.
Yeah.
It's common. But what leads to our next category, he mentioned some people don't need a cough suppressant. We need, our cough is our body's response, often to chest congestion. We don't want that mucus in our airways. That's a bad thing. And so we don't need to suppress the cough. We need to cough. But we want it to work for us, not against us. That leads us to our next category, expectorants. The most common one on the shelf, brand name wise, would be Mucinex.
I expectorated you to be a lot smarter.
That's the second bad pun this morning.
Does that work?
You're going to hit your 3 limit for today real
You're
early.
very close.
Yeah.
You're teetering
Did
right
that
now.
work?
Yeah, you're done now.
Right.
An expectorant simply helps you loosen up and cough out that mucus that's in your chest. It sounds terrible. I don't want to cough more. Well, sometimes we need to make it go away, to fix the problem, to prevent a worse problem later. So you take a Mucinex, the drug guaifenesin is, you'll see that in labels of other products. Guaifenesin is the expectorant. Loosens up the chest congestion, allows you to cough it out. And sometimes, that doesn't sound good, that's very necessary to keep pneumonia or something worse at bay for later.
Is there pills and liquid for that?
Yes, absolutely. And you'll find it in a variety of products, but multiple different types of pills, multiple different types of liquids. You'll know when it's in your liquid because it tastes terrible. But you can pick it out real quick if you've had it a few times.
It tastes bad.
But yes, extremely important, especially like elderly population. We don't want pneumonia to set up because of mucus in the chest. So as unfortunate as it is, sometimes we really need to cough it out. That's a natural body response that we need to let happen sometimes.
Jared, if you want to catch me in a bad mood, let me have fever in my body.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really will drag you down, and that's one of the things we want to talk about this morning is pain relievers and fever relievers as well.
It's amazing how fever will bring a man to his knees. Somebody who is tough and such, you give a man a fever, he's in bad shape, right? And so the kind of the fifth category of medicine that you'll see in these cough and cold products, a lot of times the box will say pain reliever / fever reducer on that. And they all have really one of two things in there, which is your generic for Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, or your generic for Advil or Motrin, which is ibuprofen. And so sometimes you might prefer one over the other. For the average adult, and probably our target audience here, those medicines for pain or fever are probably equally as effective. Sometimes people prefer one over the other. There are times when you might need one over the other. For example, ibuprofen, if you happen to have a situation where maybe you have some swelling, if you have maybe a strep throat or something like that, an inflammatory type condition, then ibuprofen may be your drug of choice. Otherwise, they're kind of interchangeable unless you have some condition or take certain types of medication that might prevent you from taking one or the other. For example, if you're on any type of blood thinner, you want to avoid ibuprofen and other medicines like it because they can further thin the blood. And then you would be stuck with the generic for Tylenol in that situation. And of course, these are things that you're not going to be able to remember, but these are things that we can certainly help you with, and that's why we're here.
What about the age groups for these type medications?
If you just really want a general rule of thumb, you can start at 2 years old with these medications. Some of the labels are going to say 4, some of the labels are going to say 6. In general, you can start at age 2. Tylenol and Motrin, you can start significantly younger than that. So, if it's just those things plain, you can start younger. But most of these ingredients, regardless of a box, what it may say, just for legal purposes, you can safely start at age 2. And then as you get older, you obviously have more complications with it. And that's when you need to start asking us questions.
Who can't use this medication?
When you start talking about over-the-counter medications or anything that you take orally, one of the first things you think about is pregnancy. Believe it or not, these medications, most of them, ibuprofen would be a no-no, and your nasal decongestants, certain times in pregnancy, they would be a no-no. Most of these medicines can be taken safely in pregnancy, so that's fantastic. Other populations, we already talked about age, but other populations, it's really based on what are your medical conditions and what medications are you on? And there's so many variables that could be that could factor in there. There's no way for us to cover all those. Bottom line is you need a pharmacist you can trust, and you need to ask that pharmacist. If you're a person who's in perfectly good health and you take 0 medications, then you probably don't need to bother us. But
you can take whatever you want to take.
If you're the average person that comes into our pharmacy with 2 or 3 medical conditions, with 7 or 8 medications, then you've got to check out the safety and whether these things mesh with your medicine before you take them.
Yeah, and these two guys are licensed pharmacists. They're not your local physician, but a lot of times we can avoid the ER, we can avoid the other dock-in-a-box type agencies and clinics by checking with you guys and say, hey, let's take a look here and see if we can't help you.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in school, and this is the type of thing we're trained to do. And so, yes, it's well within our, what we would call a scope of practice, our expertise. Come in, these self-care type issues, we need to help people make sure they're making the right choice, but we're well trained in how to do so. Absolutely.
You got white spots in the back of your throat, though. Don't come to us first, okay?
You got a flashlight, you can look at it.
That's right. We've done that before. It won't be the last.
That's right.
Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy, our guests this morning on Health Monday. And before we go today, a couple of more things. One is the flu. Every time we get a fever or we get a cough, or we think we've got the flu, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And unfortunately, that's why we have flu tests for people, if they need them going to the doctor. Quick answer. If it's a really abrupt onset of symptoms, if you have a really high fever, I can't speak this morning, with a lot of aches, chills, all those things, it's more likely to be the flu. Yeah. Slow onset, no fever, not hurting from head to toe, chances are it's a cold, not the flu. That's not always true. That's the quickest answer I can give you, though, for simple purposes this morning.
I had a guy tell me last week, I said, man, you sound bad. He said, I got the cold and flu. There's a difference there.
The truth is that when you have the flu, you know it.
Yes,
but if you've never had the flu before, then it's difficult for you to know it. So it's kind of a catch-22. But listen, 95% of those cases where a person's wondering whether they have the cold or flu, they're colds. Because as adults, we all get 2, 3, 4 every single year. And as kids, they all get 7, 8, 9, 10 every single year.
Just because I don't know, I know there are flu vaccines. Is there cold shots you can take, or
be nice?
No, it's been 50 give or take years since we put a man on the moon, but no, we still have very little for the common cold other than good luck, here's something for your symptoms. And that's pretty much where we land at this point.
Yeah.
That's right.
Before we go this morning, the gift shop in full swing, a couple of weeks before Christmas.
It's been wild up there. We have packages being wrapped all day long, the things decorated beautifully, gifts literally for every single person on your list. Come see Beth and Rachel today.
And come see these guys for your pharmaceutical needs. That's Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy. Health Monday, what's on the shelf? More daybreak just ahead.